This report is brought to you by Cerule, makers of a new category of plant-based products scientifically proven to naturally increase the number of adult stem cells in circulation. This offers a variety of benefits to reduce the effects of human aging. I have a nagging tennis injury, a rotator cuff shoulder problem. Surgery is pretty iffy, so I've been a long-time user of glucosamine products. They don't help much, but that has been my only alternative. So I gave it a try. The rep told me that it would usually take several months before any noticeable difference would occur. First week, nothing. Second week, maybe a little better. But then by the third week, all of a sudden I realized it was a lot better. All I can say is Stem Enhance has worked for us, and non-invasively. Yes, I could have paid $5,000 to have a stem cell injection into my shoulder, but it wears off. Why not stimulate the body's natural ability to generate the stem cells itself, which then travel naturally wherever they are needed for a fraction of the cost? One visit to a doctor can cost more than a month's supply of this product. There's a lot of science behind this. I wouldn't be advertising it otherwise. This works. Check out their website at billstill.cerule.com. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee on a single bottle purchase, so you can try it risk-free.
Good evening. I'm still reporting on the coup. 3 years after election 2020, the first trial addressing allegations of voting machine manipulation is scheduled for January 9th. The trial will delve into the heart of the matter, whether Georgia's electronic voting system poses significant cybersecurity vulnerabilities, potentially infringing on voters' constitutional rights. U.S. District Judge Amy Totenberg recently issued a comprehensive 135-page ruling rejecting the state's request for a summary judgment and paving the way for a trial. The lawsuit, initiated in 2017 by individual voters and the Coalition for Good Governance, proponents of a return to all voting occurs on Election Day, hand-marked paper ballots, and stringent new rules for absentee ballots. Their primary contention is that the existing electronic voting system jeopardizes voters' rights by leaving massive gaps for the party in power to cheat during elections. The state sought to have Judge Totenberg throw out the lawsuit, but in her ruling, Judge Totenberg, who is the sister of National Public Radio's Nina Totenberg, acknowledged that there were material facts in dispute, which necessitated resolution through a trial. This sets the stage for a January 9th bench trial, which eliminates a jury trial. Judge Totenberg explained that the court cannot wave a magic wand in this case to address the varied challenges to our democracy and election system in recent years, including those presented in this case. She further said that she can't make electronic voting machines just go away, however, urged the parties to collaborate on finding a resolution. The ruling came after an expert report revealing vulnerabilities in Georgia's election system. This report prompted a federal cybersecurity agency to issue advisories to jurisdictions using similar equipment. Expert witness J. Alex Halderman, a University of Michigan computer scientist, identified vulnerabilities in Dominion voting machines used in Georgia. Unbelievably, the state has declined to install a software update addressing these vulnerabilities before the 2024 election, deeming it impractical to update all the equipment in time. Of course this is nonsense. Then pay contractors to do it. Before his departure from Fox, Tucker Carlson took a look at this Fulton County election fraud issue.
On a Saturday night in late May of this year, an alarm sounded in a big nondescript warehouse in Fulton County, Georgia. The warehouse was an unlikely place for a burglary. It was under round-the-clock surveillance by both private security and local law enforcement, including armed deputies with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Any unauthorized person entering from the outside would have to get past a locked 100-pound steel door, as well as a maze of motion detectors. Not easy. But someone tried to do it anyway, and at just the perfect moment, 20 minutes after the deputies in charge of guarding the warehouse left their posts. By the time those deputies returned to check out the alarm, someone had opened the 100-pound door to the warehouse. So what happened that night and why? We still don't know. It's also not clear why the deputies left the warehouse or who took advantage of their absence. We do know that a lot of people might have had reason to try to get inside the warehouse. Depending on who you ask, the building contains evidence that either confirms or refutes the claim that voter fraud affected the outcome of the 2020 election in the state of Georgia. Georgia is a place that Joe Biden won by fewer than 13,000 votes. That warehouse holds more than 140,000 absentee ballots. Now, what's interesting is that for reasons that are difficult to understand, Fulton County officials have refused to let the public see any of these ballots.
I mean, I'm really baffled about this. What do they want? We've had 3 counts already. The elections in Fulton County, Georgia, they were open, they were fair, and they were transparent. The votes have been certified, the election has been certified, so it's over. This will be the 4th one. And I can guarantee you that the results will be, of this one, will be just like the results were for count 1, count 2, and count 3. No change. Again, our elections were open, fair, and transparent.
And that's the argument that Fulton County has used in court to keep those ballots locked away in a warehouse. Except it's not true. It now appears there actually was meaningful voter fraud in Fulton County, Georgia last November. That is not a conspiracy theory. It's true. At least 36 batches of mail-in ballots from the November election were double counted in Fulton County. That's a total of more than 4,000 votes. Keep in mind that the strongly left-of-center Atlanta Journal-Constitution appears to agree with this, at least in outline. The newspaper reviewed the available digital ballot images independently and concluded that hundreds of ballots were improperly duplicated. At a press conference yesterday, a consultant with voter GA called David Cross showed how we can be certain that votes in Fulton County were counted more than once. Watch.
What I'm going to show you here is 2 ballots side by side. One of them is marked for Jason Shaw, and it's got a little squiggle mark next to it. You can see it's got the identical mark on the second one. And the ballot image is stored up here on the top left. So this one over here is scanner 5162, that's scanner number 3, batch number 235, image number 19. And that matches 234, image 59. So you have the same ballot counted twice in the images and counted in the audit. How that's possible, I don't know.
We're not talking about a couple of ballots here. We're talking about a lot of ballots, at least hundreds of ballots involved, enough potentially to affect the outcome of the election. Here's another example.
Here's one of the next ones. All right, so same batch, number 234, image number 2, and 235, image number 61. Republican, 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 all the way down to the point where this little spot up in Fannie Willis matches this one over here. There's no question that that ballot was counted twice.
So what's the explanation for this? Well, if you ask Fulton County, these discrepancies, the ones you just saw on the screen, were isolated incidents. Just a handful of bad ballots happens all the time. The county claims that any errors were caught in previous recounts. The problem is that neither one of those claims is true. Surveillance footage obtained by voter GA appears to show large numbers of ballots being scanned multiple times. Pay attention in the tape we're showing you to the woman wearing yellow at the desk. According to voter GA, she slides ballots into a scanning machine, removes the ballots, and then reinserts the same ballots. This happens multiple times. The question is, how many times were those ballots counted? Was each vote counted more than once? Fulton County won't answer that question. Now, one way to know the answer would be to check what are called audit tally sheets. Tellingly, for months after the presidential election, Fulton County failed to provide more than 100,000 of those tally sheets, including 50,000 of them for mail-in ballots. When voter GA finally forced Fulton County to turn over the tally sheets, the conclusion was stunning. Here's what the audit found. Quote, 7 falsified audit tally sheets containing fabricated vote totals. For example, a batch containing 59 actual ballot images for Joe Biden and 42 for Donald Trump was reported as 100 for Biden and 0 for Trump. The 7 batches of ballot images with 554 votes for Joe Biden, 140 votes for Donald Trump, and 11 votes for Joe Jorgensen had tally sheets in the audit falsified to show 850 votes for Biden, 0 votes for Trump, and 0 votes for Jorgensen. Wait, did you just follow that? How is that not flat-out criminal fraud? We'd love to know, because it certainly sounds like flat-out criminal fraud. We've obtained photographs showing what went on during the recount process for mail-in ballots in Fulton County. These pictures were taken by a whistleblower who participated in the recount. She said she noticed something odd as she did. None of the ballots that she saw had any creases on them. You can see the stacks of unfolded ballots on your screen now. That's strange because, of course, mail-in ballots need to be bent in order to be mailed in. These ballots clearly had never been inside an envelope. And then the whistleblower noticed something else. All of the ballots, the whistleblower tells us, have been filled out by a printer, not by hand. And many of them supported the exact same candidates, Democrats, including Joe Biden. VoterGA detected a series of other apparent irregularities in the recount. The group's audit found, for example, that, quote, over 200 Fulton County mail-in ballot images contained votes that were not included in the hand count audit results for the November election. Now, why is that? We don't know. Keep in mind, once again, the results in the state of Georgia were decided by fewer than 13,000 votes. It was a close race. Every vote mattered. And then there's this. An elections expert called Mark Davis analyzed data from the post office. He found that nearly 35,000 Georgia voters moved out of their county of residence more than a month prior to Election Day. They were ineligible to vote, and yet they did. They still voted in their old county. That is illegal. It's not a small thing. Violating election law is something we should care about. And by law, their votes should have been excluded from the total. But they were not excluded. Why are we okay with that? Why are we okay with any of this? Well, we're okay with it because we've been told we have to be okay with it. We're undermining democracy if we ask questions about what happened during the 2020 election. And of course, that's a perfect inversion of the truth. Without answers to legitimate questions like the ones we just posed, and those are legitimate questions, democracy dies. People begin to understand that the system they've been told is on the level is in fact rigged. And when they believe that, God knows what they do next.
This is really fascinating. Again, all of the counties that we're looking at here, Democratic stronghold, Phil mentioned this, all around the Atlanta area. Here's where it gets really bizarre. Fulton County, most populous county, it is Atlanta. They just stopped counting at 10:30 p.m. They stopped counting their absentee ballots. They said they'd pick it up in the morning. We believe there is a minimum of 48,000 ballots there. These are all areas, these are all outstanding areas here around the Atlanta area that have Democratic strongholds. Okay, they're Democratic strongholds, and they are missing a huge chunk of their absentee mail-in ballots.
The water main break pronouncement was obviously made to clear the room of all poll watchers and the media. So they were told that night that the vote count would be suspended because the water main break, and that they would resume the vote count the next morning. The next morning, everybody was stunned to learn that the people at State Farm Arena, there were 5 women that worked for about 2.5 hours from just before 11 p.m. until just before 1 a.m. Scanning ballots. And the disturbing thing about it is that there were 5 of these desks with women at each of the 5 desks. And we've labeled the first one here, kind of focused on her. She's wearing a purple top, desk 1. This is at 4x speed, so we don't have to sit there and watch, it in a slower speed. But you can see that this lady is taking the same stack of ballots, and once she runs them through the scanner, there she goes. She sticks them back in and runs them a second time and a third time. And then the lady to her right, wearing the yellow top, we've got a second video that shows that she did the same thing with a stack of ballots on her desk. And so there's ballot scan number 3 from desk number 1. One man, one vote just went out the window at State Farm Arena on the night of November the 3rd, 2020. And it's here for all us to see. This is much like going to trial with a who ran the red light case, and instead of having people coming in and testifying about who ran the red light, You got a video showing who ran the red light. Now, it doesn't take experts.
Yeah, so what we're looking at, Heather and Steve, are tally sheets that were the auditors for the Georgia audit that was conducted on November and 14th and 15th in Fulton County. They filled these out as they counted the ballots. And typically you would see 37 to 43, 61 to 48, something like that. But here we have tally sheets that are 100 to nothing for ballots. So somebody filled this out. But it's not just one of these. We have 7 of these, and we're going to kind of scroll through and show you these live. There's another one, 100 to nothing. The actual counts of these are like 59-42 in terms of ballot images. Here's one that's 150 to nothing.
Yeah, so basically the people that were doing the audit would count the batches and then write in fraudulent numbers because they have the corresponding images for these batches and they do not match these sheets. So whoever was doing them commit fraud. And what I had asked him in the press conference is, are these sheets signed by the person that doing them? And apparently they are, Steve. And not only that, the Secretary of State has the information. These sheets that they got, it's redacted. So they can't determine who was doing this, but we know that whoever did commit fraud.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good evening.